Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/AmIOverReacting for you all. As per usual, I'll be going through the post, giving you my opinion at the end, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Light Frappajaku. Am I overreacting? My girlfriend spent the money I won on a sports bet, while I had plans to book a holiday for us. Now I'm fuming. I recently won 4.4K from a sports bet on a stake and deposited the money into our joint account for the first time. I was planning to use it to book a holiday that would cost around that amount. But my girlfriend saw the deposit and went ahead and spent $800 on a bag and some cosmetics without asking me. Now, I'm feeling pretty upset because that money was meant for our trip. This is the first time I've put my winnings into the joint account, and I didn't expect her to just spend it like that. Am I overreacting, or is this a valid reason to be frustrated? First things first, I would tell her the fact that you were planning a vacation and she just spent that money without asking you. And it's a joint account. Personally, I think it's a major red flag that she saw $4,000 worth of money in a joint account that you deposited. Her first reaction was to go and buy a luxury bag. That is a massive, massive red flag. And I don't think you should put another penny in the joint account until you have a conversation with her about what the joint account should be used for. Definitely not overreacting in the slightest. I also gotta ask who the hell's idea was to set up a joint account, because if it was her idea, then, dude, you gotta have some serious talks about financial responsibility with your girlfriend. If it was your idea, I guess let this be a lesson to you. I mean, technically speaking, the moment you put it in that joint account, it did become her money. But at the same time, I would see it as a massive red flag, as if I deposited money into a joint account with my partner and their first reaction was to go and spend it, without asking, hey, is it okay if I make this purchase? I mean, hell, in a joint account, there should be a minimum that if a large purchase is being made, at least getting consent from both parties about it. I do have a bit of sympathy on it because at one end you probably put it in there because you probably wanted to show your girlfriend, hey, don't worry, the vacation's covered. We're not dipping into our bills or other expenses to handle this. I want to take you somewhere nice and we have the money for it. Maybe this was just the first time that she had access to a large amount of money and just jumped on the opportunity the first chance she got, and who knows, maybe it was just an impulse purchase and she thought, oh, that 4.4K is for us to share, so I have half of it. I could maybe see that being the logical reasoning behind her spending that kind of money, is she thought that if that 4.4K, she gets 2.2K, and went and spent that money. I could maybe seeing that be the circumstance, but if it's not, and she just saw the money and went right for spending it, you gotta have a conversation with her. And probably never deposit money for a plan that you're making into a joint account ever again. Sad Torty. Am I overreacting with my gyno calling my stepdad? Damn, I am just the perfect person to be narrating this story, aren't I? Am I overreacting about my gynecologist office calling and leaving detailed voicemails to my stepdad? The other day, I, 25 female, went to my gyno to get a checkup. This was my first time going to this particular office as an adult. I went years prior as a minor. The doctors were nice, but the receptionists were so rude, dismissive, and unhelpful. On my paperwork, I put down my phone number and checked the box that specifically said, do not leave voicemails with specific details about the results and records. Today, I got a call from my mom and she told me that the doctor's office were calling my stepdad and leaving voicemails about my test results. I called the gyno and the lady said, oh yeah, I see here that they didn't input this information. I'll change it now, but since I only handle scheduling, you'll have to call the office manager. I called and she didn't answer, of course, but I left a very angry voicemail. Am I overreacting? I've been so upset and embarrassed all day. It feels like my privacy was violated. It was. But how would one even remedy this at this point? Honestly, the entire receptionist office should just be fucking fired. I mean, if they were too lazy to input new results from someone going from being a minor to an adult and just simply waved it off as, yeah, it doesn't really matter, and led to your personal medical details being shared with not even your father, your stepfather. I hope you have a good relationship with your stepfather because holy fuck, that is not okay. In all circumstances, it's not okay. Like, that's a HIPAA violation if I've ever seen one, good God. You should probably make a report if I'm gonna be honest with you, or fucking sue for that matter. I don't know what your options are, but you definitely have every right to be, if not angry, but angrier, because this is insane. The laziness of the receptionist caused your stepdad to get probably a really awkward voicemail, and for you to have your private medical details on full display. You've got every right to be angry, good God. Ad row. 8864. Am I overreacting for calling the police on my wife? My wife and I are separated and going through the divorce process. We both moved into new homes during the separation, and to help her, I've kept some of her things in my house while she made room for it. I learned that she'd been having an affair a couple of months ago, and she confirmed it last month. This guy is someone we knew from our past and has a long history of abuse against her. I've told her I don't want him anywhere near me or my kids. This week, she was supposed to come pick the stuff up, and I gave her permission to come with a friend of hers and her friend's husband to pick the stuff up from my driveway. She showed up with her affair partner instead. I told her she needed to leave my property and come back when she had someone else to help her. She refused to leave. I told her probably a dozen times and warned her that I'd call the cops if she didn't get off my property. Finally, I called the police. She left before I got a call back. I called the non-emergency line, and I told her that if she would call me before they did, I wouldn't pursue charges for trespassing. She's been extremely unwilling to get on the phone with me, but finally did. I told her that it was incredibly inappropriate to bring him to my home, and she said that how I feel is none of her responsibility. We ended up talking for about 20 minutes before hanging up. I told her I wasn't going to press charges, but he needs to stay away from me and my kids. Most people said that my reaction was justified, but someone told me that it was a bit of an overreaction. So, was I overreacting? While I do feel I was within my rights, I was in no danger. I would say you're possibly underreacting. There's a man who actively used to abuse your wife, who she had an affair with, who might abuse your children, who then showed up to your house with your ex-wife/wife, because you haven't divorced yet, when she said someone else would be there. You set a very clear boundary that she then broke. And on top of that, you also warned her several times that you would call the police if she didn't leave your property, which then she stayed on your property. I would definitely make your attorney well aware of what happened, because this is, well, honestly, if I'm going to be 100% honest, it feels like she's testing your limits and what she can get away with, and good on you for standing your ground. Also, on another note, if you have any evidence, screenshots, text messages, just anything that can point to the fact that he was a prior abuser of your soon-to-be ex-wife, you're definitely going to want that evidence for your attorney. Angry Johnny. Am I overreacting? My son, 4, was influenced by his cousin, 14, to take a hit of a tobacco vape. The cousin, 14 male, also has a sister, 11 female. They both come over sometimes for my other kids, 11 and 14 female, to hang out. Apparently, he had my son, 4 male, hit a vape. I found out after he left and lost my shit. My wife said he wouldn't come over for a long time. I said he will never come over, ever again. Not for fucking holidays, birthdays, anything. I don't want any of those kids over here anymore because their parents don't fucking parent them, and they have no respect for other people's homes. I also called the police to try and press charges, which unfortunately, there's no legal action I can take, so all I can do is ban them from my house forever. It wasn't just this incident that pushed me to this though. The 2 kids in that family are always disrespectful of my house when they come over here, either by breaking things, not being considerate of our house and belongings, etc. Last time they were here, they went onto our roof during the 4th of July and threw fireworks into the neighbor's yard at 3 a.m. I freaked the fuck out and kicked them all out of my house. My wife is too tolerant of the kids' bullshit and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of disrespectful ass kids. So, am I overreacting? Sounds like the other 2 kids also need new friends because the 11 and 14-year-old shouldn't be hanging out with them. Not to mention, no, you're not overreacting. They pressured a 4-year-old to take a hit of a tobacco vape. Of course you're not overreacting. This is actually insane. Your sibling-in-law seems to just run a circus over there, so yeah, you definitely should not allow them in your house anymore. Not just for your children's safety, but honestly, by the sounds of it, for the safety of your property, your wife, and yourself. This is just... ugh. Not to mention with the whole fireworks thing, I'm pretty sure you would be liable if the cops were ever called, so definitely keep them away from your house and kids. Apprehensive Fall, 841. Am I overreacting by leaving my boyfriend's place after a comment he made? I've, 30 female, been with my boyfriend, male 34, for 6 months. He's always been calm, sweet, and polite, and he treats me well. Last night we were watching the news at his place. We don't live together yet. There's a case that's been getting a lot of media coverage in my country this week. A woman was stabbed to death by her ex-partner in the hospital where she worked. The news mentioned that the man had a history of domestic violence and a restraining order, which he received last holiday season after threatening the woman and her dad with a knife because her dad called her a term of endearment. I told my boyfriend about how crazy it was the man got jealous of her dad. My boyfriend then said he kind of understands because he found it weird for a dad to call his grown daughter a term of endearment, adding that no man would like his girlfriend to be called that by another man. I told him it's normal for fathers to call their daughters by terms of endearment. I told him that my dad calls me princess. He hasn't met my dad yet. And he responded that it was inappropriate and that I'm a grown woman who shouldn't be called princess by my dad. He even said that if my dad were to call me that in public, people would think he was my sugar daddy. Oh shit, man. At this point, I thought he was being ridiculous, and I asked him why he was so focused on this and seemingly defending a literal murderer. He said he wasn't defending the murderer. He agrees the man is a piece of shit who deserves to rot in jail, but that any man would be uncomfortable if his girlfriend's dad called her a term of endearment. This conversation made me really uncomfortable, and I ended up leaving his place with an excuse. Now, I feel off. He's always treated me right, so I'm wondering if I'm overreacting. Edit, I don't know what the term of endearment was. In the news they just said, term of endearment. But if you can think of one term of endearment that would justify stabbing the woman 10 times, let me know. See, the problem with this specific scenario is there is no way of framing his argument without at least partially coming off that he's defending the guy. Because no matter what, even arguing the term of endearment line of logic comes off as being defensive of the guy's reasoning, or at least sympathetic or understanding of it. Like, the fact that her reaction was, wow, it's fucking crazy that he was jealous of her dad, and the boyfriend's response was, yeah, that's insane. It was, well, I kind of understand because it is weird for a dad to call a grown daughter a term of endearment. Like, that comes off as defending the killer. And I'm not saying his intention is to defend the killer, I'm just saying that it comes off really insecure and has a lot of red flags, and if someone doesn't quite understand what he's trying to get across, it's gonna come out that he's defending the killer. Because what he probably meant was, yeah, this makes me uncomfortable, so I could see how someone who is more mentally unstable and unhinged would jump to this conclusion. But it sounds like it was worded horrendously. At least I fucking hope that's what he meant. I'm definitely doing a lot of legwork for this guy here and trying to at least give some kind of understanding for how he could fuck up this badly. Like, dude, come on. I would say that OP is definitely not overreacting, and she probably needs to have a deeper conversation with her boyfriend to figure out if this relationship is worth continuing to pursue, because it sounds like he treats her pretty good. And maybe if he can get past these pretty glaring insecurities, maybe he'd be worth keeping around, but if not, this is gonna develop into a lot of problems later on. Dismal Middle, 2623. Am I overreacting? My boyfriend tells me periods are a scam. Oh, fucking boy. I've been dating my boyfriend for 1 year, and he always says how girls are being dramatic with their periods. I'm someone who gets heavy mood swings, cramps, and bleeding. I choose to not talk with him during this time because he brings me down, telling me I'm overreacting, and leaves with his friends. Last week he knew I was going to get my periods and planned his trip abroad with his friends during the time just to avoid me, even though he told me it's nothing like that. His argument is that his female friends are never this dramatic and don't cry over cramps and mood swings. Is it really bad that I want support from my boyfriend, or am I really over... Oh, poor thing. Edit, guys, I really don't want to break up with him. I know how he sounds from this, but he really is a sweetheart to me and takes care of me if I'm sick and all. What if I show him all these comments and have a talk with him? Do you all think this, or should be dead? I'm not 100% sure what they meant in this final sentence. Edit, I posted this here to get a perspective and see how I can navigate this issue, and now I see how he really might be an asshole. I just really thought he was the one, and all these replies are eating at my mind now. I don't know how to leave him, though. I see that I should now. I have this feeling inside that I'll regret it if I leave him because he's so compatible with me and we have a lot of fun together. First things first, have a fucking conversation with him and actually break it down that you're considering leaving him over his treatment of you during something that you can't control. If he's unwilling to realize that it's different for everyone and can definitely cause more complications than others may have, because some people might have a very easy cycle that just kind of goes and disappears and doesn't really do that much. Other people have to deal with hell. If he can't accept this, then he should go. If he's willing to understand this, then maybe he should stay. I would also recommend a heating pad. I've heard they work wonders. Unusual Steak, 9144. Am I overreacting for rethinking my relationship after my partner took a stranger's side in an argument? I'll try to keep a long story short. My girlfriend and I rented an Airbnb last weekend. We immediately had problems with another couple renting 2 houses down because they were trying to deny us access to the beach, saying it was specifically for their unit. They were totally wrong. For 2 days, this couple was berating us and calling us all kinds of names. But what really set me off was the girl going up to my girlfriend and saying, "Get off our beach, you fat bitch." They were really targeting her. On the 3rd day, when we were leaving, he screamed something at us from the beach. I went up to him and told him off pretty nastily, called them all sorts of names. I really bitched his girlfriend for what she said to my girlfriend. When I turned around, my girlfriend was behind me. Pissed. She threw 2 jugs of water at me and I got soaked. She then yelled at me in front of the guy about how I shouldn't have kept it going. She then apologized to the man and his girlfriend for what I said to them and stormed off. I followed her and we left. I've never felt so betrayed in my life. The whole weekend, I tried to keep calm and mature, and when I could, I jumped to my girlfriend's defense. And then she stabbed me in the back. It was utterly embarrassing too. It made me feel like at that point we lost whatever the issue was with the couple, even though we were in the right. I can't feel the same about my girlfriend. Even if what I did made her mad, she should have had my back in public and gotten mad at me in private. Am I overreacting? This one's a bit tricky because it sounds like your girlfriend is just really conflict averse and does not want to be involved in any kind of spat or argument or anything that could lead to further violence. She probably wasn't a fan of you potentially escalating things, and that's why the reaction happened. But at the end of the day, I don't think you're overreacting. If I came to my partner's defense and they punished me for it, I would feel really weird about that too. Especially because there is the embarrassment of the fact that that couple sees that as a win, and now you can't have beach access on your vacation. And on top of that, you know they're gonna shit talk you for the rest of the goddamn vacation, and probably for the rest of time. Assuming that everything in this story is 100% accurate, I don't think you're overreacting, and at the end of the day, if your emotions have led you down this road to the point where you honestly can't feel the same about your partner, you gotta either have a conversation with her, or I don't know. I don't want to just jump to break up with her because that's kind of a bit of an overreaction, but at the same time, I understand not being able to look at your partner the same way after an encounter like this. I mean, it sucks. And this is coming from my opinion as a guy, so I would like to hear some differing opinions of someone who might be in the reverse position. Let me know because I'm actually really curious. I'm also curious that if you disagree with me, I want to kind of know why and get like the other perspective of this. Small Egg, 8557. Am I overreacting over my daughter's friend's weird behavior towards me? I'm sorry for any mistakes on this post. I'm quite new to Reddit. I've recently found myself in a bit of a strange situation, and one of my girlfriends suggested I posted about it here. I had my daughter very young as a result of a one-night stand. I contacted her father, but he's wanted nothing to do with her since birth, so I raised my daughter as a single mother. Because of this, and the smaller age gap in our ages, we're very close, and I'm fairly involved in her social life. Here's where the problem comes in. I've recently begun to notice that one of the male friends in my daughter's circle has been acting inappropriately towards me. It started with the simple lingering behind the group in favor of conversations with me and constant staring. Usually it's pretty innocent stuff like that, but last night, I think it might have crossed a line. The kids were all in our backyard around a campfire when I went out to give them some chips my daughter had asked me to bring. The friend in question had a guitar and had just finished a song when another one of the male friends in the circle nudged him in the side and asked me to sit for the next song. I did, and after some back and forth between the other guy, the friend started singing Stacy's Mom by Fountains of Wayne. I sat for the entire performance uncomfortable, but I didn't want to imply that I took it a certain way. After it was done, I clapped with the others, but then quickly excused myself back inside. Later that night, the friend asked to talk with me, but I declined and made up some excuse. I feel so uncomfortable by this whole situation, and I'm wondering if I should tell my daughter that she can't host gatherings at her house for the time being, but I'm afraid of socially isolating her from her friends. Am I overreacting, or is this super weird? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Note, since a couple of comments have pointed it out, I thought I should clear up their ages. I'm 44, my daughter is 23, and all of her friends are in their mid-20s as well, although I'm not sure exactly how old this specific one is. I mean, it seems like he specifically waited to sing Stacy's mom until you were around, and on top of that, it seemed like he was also goaded into seeing Stacy's mom when you were around by his friends. So they're aware that he probably has a crush on you. And the fact that he specifically wants to talk with you, and if you were alone during that quote-unquote talk, yeah, he might have a bit of a crush. At the end of the day, your daughter's an adult, she can host her own gatherings, you should probably have a conversation with her, and on top of that, like, if you really want to be in your daughter's little friend circle, which I don't know if I'd be comfortable with my mom being in my friend circle, but if you got that relationship with your daughter, kudos to you. That relationship also comes with, well, this. So that is just kind of part of it. And you certainly do have the right to be uncomfortable by it, and you certainly do have the right to take steps to either distance yourself from this or ensure that this behavior doesn't continue. I would probably start by talking with your daughter and see what she says, and then go from there. But as to the question if you're overreacting on whether or not he might have a crush on you, he most certainly does. Because I honestly can't think of any other circumstance where you would look someone in the eyes while singing Stacy's mom at them, especially when you're friends with their daughter. Like, unless bro just made the most embarrassing mistake possible, I can't see another reason for that. Like, at least with Wonderwall, I can somewhat understand. I mean, it's cringe as hell, but hey, at least then there would be an excuse that he was singing it to another girl in the group, but Stacy's mom is very specific. This one's actually an update to the friend one. I encountered this as I was wrapping the video up and figured this would be a fun one to throw in. Small Egg, 8557. Am I overreacting over my daughter's friend's weird behavior towards me? Update. Thank you all so much for all the advice on my last post. I was very overwhelmed by the amount of comments and tried to respond to a lot of them, but became very anxious when they started to pile up, so I'm sorry if yours got lost in the mess. I've also read some more posts on this page and thought that I should make an update post as the situation has changed a bit. While it was a little hard for me to accept, I have decided to take a big step back from my daughter's life, and am going to work on being out of the house during these gatherings. That being said, this predicament might be a little more unique than I originally thought. Like many of you suggested, I first had to talk with my daughter to get a good understanding of her stance. Unfortunately, it did not go well. This same friend has been flirting with my daughter for months, and they've apparently, secretly, hooked up a couple times too. That night, after I went inside and presumably after he asked to talk to me, the two slipped away and were doing their thing when he propositioned a threesome between him, her, and me. He played it off as a joke, so my daughter just tried to ignore it. But me bringing up how I was picking up on some strange signals seems to make her believe that he was either after me or trying to fulfill some fantasy. That being said, my daughter has redirected her anger about the situation towards me for some reason, and has been ignoring me since our conversation. I feel bad for ruining a potential relationship for her, but I don't think I would have wanted her to be with a man like him anyway. This is a tough situation to be in, but I thank all you Reddit people again for the advice. I'm not sure if your daughter is necessarily directing her anger towards you, as more if she's just shocked at the idea a guy that she probably had feelings for was interested in her mother, and him all having a threesome. And it's probably, temporarily hopefully, changed her view of you just by proxy, which that definitely kind of sucks. Definitely give your daughter time. I don't think she's mad at you. I think she's probably just, as weird as this might sound, uncomfortable with the idea of you finding out that he jokingly propositioned for a threesome, only for, the daughter to find out that you've been getting some weird vibes on top of it all. So that joke, and you can't see the air quotes, but I'm doing air quotes, turns out to be one of those, it'd be really funny, unless type of jokes. Cerebral serendipity. Am I overreacting? Girlfriend told me her parents don't need to speak to me when we're at their house because it's their house. I, male 26, moved states from the Midwest and now live in California, going on a few years now. Met someone, female 23, this last year, and she lived with her parents until recently she moved out. We would be over at her parents' house, give or take once a week while she lived there. This was part of an argument that started because I had shared over the course of our 9 months relationship that her parents never really asked about me, despite me asking about them, their jobs, lives, etc. I felt left out in a way from knowing them. She accused me of saying her parents are bad people and that she never should have stood up for me to them, and that they never did anything wrong. It's their house. I made it clear that I wasn't stating that they were terrible people, that as my girlfriend, I would like to get to know your parents. And if while I'm getting our breadcrumbs when I bring a loaf of bread, why am I suddenly an asshole for asking for that space? Am I overreacting for feeling shitty? I've made an effort to get to know them. Is it fair I feel weird that they haven't tried to get to know me? Why did she have to defend you? That's my first question. What was she defending you about? If I'm gonna be 100% honest, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Quick backstory, I grew up in Idaho my entire life. My entire family, all my friends were in Idaho. I moved to Colorado because I met someone who was a mistake. In Colorado, I only had that person's friends, and the only family that I quote-unquote had was her parents. Now, I let one of her parents live with me when her parents were fighting for almost 2 months. I knew these people for almost 3 years. I was there every holiday. I was there on a semi-weekly basis, and they would even show up to my house unannounced at times. And these people, in the multiple years of knowing them, know fucking nothing about me. And considering that you're older than me, but your partner is pretty much my age, you're probably dealing with your partner's parents being probably pretty late boomers, which that comes with its own baggage. Your focus should be your girlfriend. It shouldn't be her parents. Don't let their rude behavior define your relationship. But on a personal note, those behaviors that her parents are exhibiting might pop up in her eventually. My recommendation to you, just on a personal note, is try to make friends that aren't connected to your partner. And while this might sound selfish, don't connect your friends with your partner. You need to have friendships, especially in a new state, that aren't connected to your love interest. I guarantee that you'll feel a lot better about your in-laws being kind of just stoic isolationist assholes. Personally, if you play D&D, try your local game store. And if you have any hobbies that aren't D&D or Warhammer 40k, try a place that enables your hobby. You might meet some like-minded people there. Honestly though, if you, a viewer, have any advice to give in the comments section of how to make friends if you're in a new state and you're an adult, that could actually probably really come in handy for a lot of us. Because it can definitely get difficult and definitely feel isolating. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.